Hey there, and welcome back to BoardBee. So today we're gonna do something really fun. We're gonna test a new module for NESmaker. But before we get to that, I'm gonna have to address something again. Now I'm sorry about this, but this is just a quick rant, sort of. A while back I addressed this as well. I was getting over 100 messages on my email, whatever, people contacting me, wanting my help. And I asked people to, respect my time, use the forums, and people did, and I'm very thankful for that. Now, it seems that the problem has come back, especially after I started to release the Commodore 64 videos. So I'm getting emails, YouTube comments, whatever, people wanting my help for something. And listen, when I get project files with hundreds of lines of code, I just can't sit down and find where the mistake is. And people want me to draw graphics for the games, want me to make some power-up system, map system, whatever it is. I'm sorry, I just don't have the time. So last time I asked people to use the forums, and people respected that, and I'm very thankful for that. But please, again, use the forums if you need help like that, because I just don't have the time. Now, if you're not sure where to find the forums, I've listed them here. So for NESmaker, it's nesmakers.com. For Commodore 64, it's lemon64.com/forum. So please use those forums if you need any help. And lastly, don't forget, I'm doing this for free. I don't have ads in my videos, I don't push Patreon in people's face, I don't even ask people to like and subscribe. So please keep that in mind. Alright, so sorry about that. Now let's get to today's episode. So, like I said, we're going to be using the pushable blocks module for NESmaker. Now, if you've ever played a game on the NES called The Adventures of Lolo, this is kind of like that, where you have a top-down view and you can push a block around on the screen. So let's take a look at how that works. So here we have the test game that I made. Now this game is much bigger than what we're going to be doing today, but we're going to be using the assets from this test game. So let me just get this going and you'll see how this works. So as you can see, I can move in 8 directions, nothing special really. But what's special about this module is that we can push these blocks right here. So as you can see, when I move up against this block, I can push it in that direction. And if I push it against a wall, it stops like that. So you can make really fun games with this module. And let me just get out of this. So the very first thing we need to do is to go to the NESmaker forum and find the pushable blocks module post there. So I'm gonna leave the link in the description. So if you go down here, you just click here to download the module itself, and it's all packed in a zip file. So unfortunately there's not a great description here in the text, but he has made a video here that you can watch, but I'm gonna explain everything in this video. So this is made by Matesy. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but Macy maybe, I don't know. Anyway, this module is super fun, and all we need to do is just download this module, and let me just exit this game. Once you've downloaded and unzipped that file, you'll end up with this folder. Inside this folder we have 2 subfolders, game engine data and modules. So it's really simple. So now let me just get another window here, and this is a clean installation of NESmaker right here. So in this NESmaker folder, I'm gonna go into NESmaker folder. Now I'm gonna go into my game engine data folder here, and I'm gonna do the same here in the block pusher folder. And as you can see, we have another folder, routines. I'm gonna go into that, base 45 and game. So I'm gonna do the same here in my NESmaker folder, routines, base 45 and game. Now all we need to do is to copy this folder called mod adventure pushable blocks. Need to copy that over to the corresponding folder here in our NESmaker folder. So I'm just gonna drag it over like that. And now I have mod adventure pushable blocks here in my game folder in my NESmaker installation. So now I'm gonna go back to the base folder here, block pusher mod. Now there's another folder here called modules. So I need to go back to my NESmaker folder, go to my base NESmaker folder, and I'm gonna find my modules folder here. So I'm gonna go into modules here in my NESmaker folder, and I'm gonna go into modules here in the block pusher folder. And again, just drag this file over here to our modules folder in the NESmaker install. So now we have this adventure pushable block.mod here in NESmaker modules, and in game engine data, routines, base 45, game, we also have mod adventure pushable blocks, this folder here. So that's all we need to do to install the module itself. So now let's just start NESmaker. And here we go. I'm gonna start a new project here. And I'm gonna create a blank tile set, and I'm gonna call this Yo-Yo's Quest, like that. Now this is important. Now we have installed a new module, so we need to select that module here from the starting module. And of course, it's the adventure pushable blocks. Now the reason it's called adventure here is of course that it's based on the adventure module. So adventure pushable blocks, select that one and click OK. And I'm also just gonna save my project as Yo-Yo's Quest, like that. Alright, so here we are, blank, completely blank NESmaker project. Now I've made some assets that I'm gonna leave a link for the file here in the description field. So I have that file here, and it's a zip file, so I've just extracted it here. Yo-Yo export. Now I'm gonna go to my graphics folder here, and I'm gonna select all the files in the graphics folder, and I'm gonna copy those. So just gonna click Ctrl C here, and back in my NESmaker folder, I need to go to graphic assets, Yo-Yo's Quest, and inside this graphic assets Yo-Yo's Quest folder, I'm gonna select all the files in there and delete them. And I'm just gonna paste the files that I copied from here to this graphic assets folder. So now I have the graphics in place. So next I'm going to go to palettes here in NESmaker. All palettes, right click, import. And I need to go to my assets folder, the one called Yo-Yo export. And I'm gonna select all palettes for this one. Now I'm gonna move quickly through these steps because we've done this sort of things before. So monster palettes is the next one. I'm I'm going to select all monster palettes, right click and import. And I'm going to choose all monster palettes and open. Next, I'm going to select the game objects here, right click, import all game objects. All right, there we go. And the monsters, I'm gonna select, go to monster graphic banks, graphics bank 0 and monsters. Just gonna right click and import all monsters, monster objects, and open. And like we've seen before, NESmaker doesn't export or import monster groups. So let's just create a monster group here called monsters1. And I'm just gonna select the 2 monsters that we just imported. Click save. All right. So next I'm gonna go to my input editor. Right click, import input links, and in my Yo-Yo export folder, there's a file called inputs. So I'm going to select that one and open. And as you can see, the inputs here for this module is really simple. Nothing special. Just up, down, left, right, stop moving, and change action to moving, change action to stop. Nothing special. So now we have most of our stuff in place. We just need to go to Overworld up here. Right click, import both maps. Yes. And I'm going to select maps here, still in my Yo-Yo export folder. I'm going to select maps, open, and I'm going to go into this screen right here. And like before, we need to place our player. So just right click in the middle, place player. So I'm just going to go to screen info, day monsters, and select the monster group like that. Now, if we just want to test this block pushing, we can remove these monsters. So I'm just going to right click here and reset all placements. We can play around with monsters later if we want. But now we have the graphics, the inputs, and our basics set up. So far we haven't really done anything special. So now we need to get all of this stuff set up for this module. Now most of the stuff has already been done in the module itself, the thing that we did in the beginning. But we need to set up our game objects in a special way. So I'm gonna go here to player first, and the player object is not really there's nothing special about that really. So I'm going to select player object details, and this is just the animations, just like normal. Details, I'm going to give him 1 health, and it's going to be a persistent player, of course. Solid object reaction, going to set up to stop. Edge object reaction doesn't really matter. I'm just going to set it to go to next screen. Now, the next thing that we're going to do now, this is important for this module. What speed should we give him? Normal max speed. Well, NESmaker, guy who made this module, set some values here. And I'm guessing that he used those values to make this work properly. And I'm also guessing that the values he chose here was so that the player is not moving faster than the block itself, because that would be weird. It would create some sort of weird effects. So the values he has given us here is 18 for normal max speed. 18 for normal max speed. For acceleration speed, he has told us to use 12. So 18 for normal max speed, 12 for acceleration speed. Now, I'm sure you can play around with these values eventually, but at least in the beginning, you should use these values until you get everything working correctly. And maybe you can get this to work if you play around with these values. But we're going to use the default values that NESmaker has given us, so 18 and for normal max speed and 12 for acceleration. Alright, so actions. Nothing special really, just the normal stuff. Idle animations for action step 0, move animation for action step 1. Nothing special. Bounding box. Now I'm just gonna give this guy a big bounding box. So I'm just gonna select a bounding box that covers almost the entire guy here. Just gonna leave a gap here, 1 pixel at the edges. So now we have our player set up. That's great. Now the next thing here, this is the block itself. So let me just explain how this works. Let's take a look at the overworld. So let's take a look at this screen right here. So the way this works is that we have these blocks here. These blocks are tiles. So these, we have these collision types here. We have solid, we have hurt, warp, whatever. But in this module, Matesy has made a new tile type called pushable. So that's number 0, 1, 2, 3. So tile type number 3 here is pushable. And that's the one that I have set up these tiles to be. These are tile type 3. So the way this works is that when our little guy here collides with this tile, the tile disappears and instantly a game object is being created at the exact same position, and that game object starts to move a certain distance. And of course it's going to move in the direction that we were pushing it in. So it's going to move a little distance, and then it's going to disappear, and wherever it disappeared, it's going to create a new block just like this. So basically we have a block and we have a game object. So it just looks like we're pushing this thing around, but it's actually a tile and a game object working together to make it look like we're just pushing this thing around. So we have a tile here and we have a game object here. Obviously it's important that the graphics look exactly the same, so we won't get any weird effects here. So let's take a look at our pixel editor. I'm gonna open up my BCK CHR00, so the very first background file here. I'm gonna select that one, open. So this is just a normal background file that we usually use when we're making background tiles. And I'm also going to go to pixel editor, add another tab, and I'm going to open up the game object tiles file, so you can see that as well. So here we go, and I'm just going to set up my different sprite palettes here like that. All right, so here are the game object tiles and here are the background tiles. Now notice one thing here. These are the sub palettes for background graphics. I have one sub palette here. If we go over to my game object tiles here, you can see that, remember, these are sprite palettes. If we take a look at this one, we can see that I've chosen the exact same colors as this one in my background palettes, or this sub palette. So it's important that we have the exact same colors to make this illusion work. And it's also important that we have the exact same graphic here in our game object tiles and here in our background tiles. So of course it's just as simple as selecting this one, copying it and pasting it here in the game object tiles. And when we're setting it up here, we of course need to give it the correct sprite palette. Now, a thing that's important for this module to work is that for our pushable block, we need to choose the top right tile here for the graphics for our pushable block. So you need to use the top right tile in BCK CHR00. So the background graphics, top right tile needs to be the graphics for the pushable block. So that's important, and where you place that graphics here in the game objects file doesn't really matter. I just put it down here. But of course, the graphics need to be exactly the same. So, top right corner here in the background, game object doesn't really matter. So I just set up my game object here, the one that looks like a pushable block. And of course, since sprite tiles are 8 by 8 pixels, we need to make this 2 by 2 so that it's the same size as a background tile. So once we've done that, selected the correct palette, then we need to do one more thing. We need to go to object details here. So we don't really need to do anything. We don't need to give it an animation. Don't need to set up anything here in details. Nothing special here in actions. But bounding box. This is important to make this work. So what we're going to do here for this game object, we're going to give it a the tiniest little bounding box you've ever seen. It's just going to be 1 pixel. That little bounding box is going to be right here in the middle. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to set up a bounding box with 1 by 1. So 1 pixel. Where are we going to place it? Well, I'm going to place it right here in the middle. Now, of course, this is 16 by 16, so we can't get... this is the closest we're going to get to the middle of this. So if you set the left to 7, top to 7, we're going to place it right here in the middle. And the width is going to be 1, height 1. So this tiny little dot here is the bounding box for this game object. Alright, 7, 7, 1, 1. And that's all we need to do for this game object. And just to repeat, for the player object, we just give him a normal bounding box. So remember, the one thing that's important for this module for the player is the speed. 18 normal max, 12 for acceleration. Other than that, it's just normal stuff. So now, can we play this game? Well, let's export and test. Let's see how this works. So, since this is the first time I'm running this Messen install, I'm just gonna set up the inputs because it's set up with default inputs here. So, random keys and up, down, left, right. Yeah, that should be okay. So, now, as you can see, I can move him around in well, it's not 8 directions actually, it's just 4 directions. But he can move up, down, left and right. Now the big question is, can we push this block? Let's try. Yeah, sure enough. So I'm moving up against the tile. And as you can see, the tile is moving. Now remember what I said. What's actually happening here is that the tile here goes away, and at the same time that happens, this game object is created at the exact same position. and it moves a little distance, goes away, and creates a new tile just like this. And then the process just repeats like that. So what I think is really cool about this module is that it's actually really well made. So as you can see, if you have two of these tiles next to each other, you can't push one over the other. It stops. And like we saw before, if you push it up against a solid tile, the same thing happens. It actually stops. So it works really well in my opinion. And I've been playing a lot with this module, and I find it really, really fun to play around with. So that's all we need to do to get a basic game like this working. Now, what I did in my test game was that I made this block so that you could kill the monsters using this block. How did I do that? Well, it's really simple. I just go to Object Details, and I just make this game object a player weapon. It's as simple as that. So if I select player weapon here, then this becomes a player weapon, of course. So if we see if we can place some monsters here, we do it like let's see, like that, and now I should be able to push the blocks to kill the monsters. So let's see if that works. And yeah, it works. Now this is just a default NESmaker setup, so I haven't made a monster explosion or anything like that. And since this is based on the adventure module, when I killed this monster, it created a random drop, but I haven't set up anything for drops here. So this is probably a health pickup or something like that. And as you can see here, my health pickup is just this tile right here. So anyway, the point is that if you want the blocks to kill the monsters, then you just set it up as a player weapon. And that's basically it. So of course, like with any other NESmaker module, this is just a starting point. So if you want to do this or that or whatever, then of course you're going to have to do some modifications or maybe add some code or whatever. But at least now you can see how you can use this module. And the basic setup, as you can see, is really simple. We just need to set the correct values for the player and for this block. And by the way, I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but it's important that this block here is game object 1. Game object 1 here. So that's it. So don't forget, for this block, we set this tiny little hitbox, bounding box in the middle, 7711. For the player, we need to make sure he has the correct speed. 18 normal max, 12 for acceleration. And of course, lastly, maybe the most important thing, we need to set tile number 3 for the tiles that we want to be pushable blocks. And that's it. So, like I said, I played around with this module a lot. It's super fun, and I want to thank Matesy here for making this module, because I have had hours of fun with this, so it's really great. So thank you, Matesy. And thank you for watching, because now we're done, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.